Last year I did a canal walk from Kidderminster to Starbridge town, and I caught a very unique small type of train on the branch afterwards back to Starbridge Junction. Now there are two more stations in between Starbridge Junction and Kidderminster that I've not used. I'm going to use both of them today before I start my walk. However, I realised as I got into Birmingham on a train from London that I could actually catch an earlier train and change at one of the stations en route just to tick off another station. And so I've decided that that station will be Rowley Regis. I love the alliteration of that name. I don't think I've ever actually seen tracks cross over whilst at a platform before. I guess it's to serve that siding over there. I'm loving the heritage sign here, though it does say that it is a replica and not an original. Okay, so I literally only have about 5 minutes before my train back, so having to make sure I get across the level crossing in time. That is the only way to the other platform. Oh, there is a nice old signal box on this side. It's supporting the original name of Churchill as well, when this station opened in 1852. Okay, so now I can start my walk outside of Hagley station, which I've taken off of the Saturday Walkers Club website, which have an array of walks, mainly in the southeast of England, which is why I was intrigued to find this one up here in the Midlands. And this is what I'm doing today, from Hagley to Barnt Green. And this is a nice start to the walk. I've literally made it no distance at all. Hello there. I've already got another cat. I feel like I'm going to disturb you if I climb over. Yep, I knew it. It's okay though, because I can also see we got some horses over there. Hello. You're not bothered at all, are you? Now, when I started my canal walk at Kidderminster last year, I began by having a look at the Severn Valley Railway, a heritage railway that serves Kidderminster. And one of their locomotives is called Hagley Hall. So considering I'm in Hagley, I felt it rude if I not come and have a quick look at the hall itself. Oh, this is something you don't usually have to put up with on walks during the summer. Can I bounce on this stick to get across? This is actually a terrible idea, I should just jump for it really. Anyways, it looks like I've got my first real incline of the day. This is going to be a very hilly walk. I'll explain when we get to the top. So there is a Hagley Hall castle over there, and that's genuinely the best view I'm going to get of it because it's all private. It's a folly. It's built specifically to look like a ruin and sits within the grounds of Hagley Park, of which Hagley Hall is also located. No wonder the SWC walk doesn't really come up to have a look at it. That was a steep climb, but as you can see behind me, it's worth it for the view. So today's walk is predominantly across the Clent Hills. They are part of a long distance footpath known as the North Worcestershire Way. This one in particular is the Clent Hill. And I've just realised, well, I guess I'm in Worcestershire, but I've never really done a West Midlands walk apart from just a couple along the canal. So it's quite exciting for me to get to visit brand new places today around this part of the country. Ooh, I'm wondering if they are the Malvern Hills over there. That's a Worcestershire walk I would love to do one day. And I guess all that down there is probably Starbridge. Marking the summit of Clent Hill, 304 metres high I am, is 4 stones, which, much like the folly, is very much a decorative feature. I was wondering if I might be able to spot the castle just about the top of it over there. So I guess I start to make my descent now, and I somewhat doubt any of the other hills today are going to offer views as glorious as this one. Aha, I'm glad to see we got a National Trust sign here for the Clent Hills. I did realise that it's owned by the National Trust, so I'm glad to get another sign to add to the collection. Seems I'm moving on to Walton Hill now. I've reached another summit. I didn't think I'd actually be climbing another hill quite so soon, nor did I think it would be just as steep as the other one, Walton Hill. Oh yeah, and Walton Hill is taller than Clent Hill. I didn't think that, at 316 metres, 12 metres taller. Oh, there we go. That must be Birmingham, right? All the skyscrapers over there. I will say I'm really liking this section of the walk because you get such good views and nobody is around. Everyone's up at the hill viewpoints. No one's actually doing the walk between them. Well, I guess it's because they live local and they've parked their car, so they just climb the one hill and back down again. Whereas I've come on the train, I've almost got the freedom to kind of go wherever I want, as long as I can get public transport back home in the end. Okay, looks like I've got a steep decline on my hands, which just means I'm going to have a steep incline again at some point, aren't I? You know what? I understand why people don't walk this. This feels a lot steeper than Clent Hill at the beginning of the walk. Well, I wonder what the elevation gain will be by the end of today. Well, now that I've finally made it to the top of that road, I've got a little bit of field action. And still, with some stunning scenery too. Just love this walk. Oh! Well, this disrupts the beautiful tranquility the countryside and rolling hills has offered today. I guess civilization has to return at some point. It's the M5. I think that's the funniest photo of a cow I've ever seen. Oh, well, this is much more like it. We're on to our third hill now, which I've seen be called Windmill Hill, but we are in a Waisley Hills country park, and the thing I've come to see is the source of the River Rea. Yes, that little puddle down there becomes the principal river flowing through Birmingham. I am planning a walk along this river one day, so it seems really fitting to first come to the source of it here. From here, the River Rea flows into the River Tame, then flows into the River Trent, then flows into the River Humber before finally reaching the North Sea. That's quite an epic journey for something which is currently just a puddle in the middle of nowhere at the bottom of this hill. I love that. You know, it's been nice because I always get viewpoints of London on my walks to get a viewpoint of a different city today instead, Birmingham. I've now made it up to what is my final hill of the day in Lickey Hills Country Park. And on top of this hill in particular, you'll see what looks to be a castle, but it is known as the Beacon Hill Toposcope, which was constructed in 1907 to commemorate this land being gifted to the city of Birmingham. I don't know why I want to be silly and crouch underneath this, even though it's like less than half my height. Don't necessarily need to go up here to get a better view than I already had, but I figured I might as well if given the opportunity. And I guess if you discredit Beacon Hill as its own separate hill and it's just part of the Lickey Hills, I'd assume then that the actual Lickey Hill here is our fourth and final one of the day, which was quite nicely foreshadowed by the number of stones on top of Clent Hill this morning. Seems like there's some sort of old war structure here. Oh, it was a toilet block from the First World War. And I should have from here a nice gentle descent all the way to the station at the end of the walk. And to bookend this walk, what better way than, I say, to be greeted by a cat. I mean, it's not coming over to say hello to me, is it? And just like I said, you get to the end of the trail and you are immediately greeted with Barnt Green station. The purple and orange combo for West Midlands Railways I really like. They have some of the better station signs out of the train operating companies, especially if they're going to mention Lickey Hills Country Park on there. Now that might be the end of the walk, but it's not yet the end of the video. From here there are 3 trains an hour to Birmingham that stop at all stations, so I thought I'd take the opportunity and dedicate an hour to stopping at some of the stations en route. There is also a branch off of here to Redditch. That opened 15 years after the station first opened in 1844, but we're going to come back for the Redditch branch another day. I did cross over to get a better, sunnier photo of the station sign, only to realise that my train is actually coming from Redditch, so I did have to cross over anyways.
The next stop will be Longbridge.
I've not been on one of these trains before. Class 730. They're very smart. They look very similar to Greater Anglia's 720s, but at least they're not 2x3 seating, so you can actually walk down the train. Oh, they got tables as well. That's neat. Greater Anglia don't. So my first stop is Northfield, suspiciously similar to the Piccadilly line station. I've skipped Longbridge as I will return there one day to do a River Rea walk, the source of the river we saw earlier. And I've also not done King's Norton, as I ended a canal walk there once from Birmingham. Now I have a 20-minute wait here, and intriguingly, although there's two very clearly disused platforms, the two remaining platforms here are numbered 1 and 4. So this is quite strange for me, as right next to the railway is the Worcester and Birmingham Canal that I walked from Birmingham to King's Norton, so I have stood on these platforms before. Cadbury World is the local attraction nearby, that's why the station is in touches of purple. Yes, I did come off the towpath to have a look at it. Yes, I did buy some chocolate from the gift shop, which surprisingly was, I think, even cheaper than what it is in the local corner store. So I'm also familiar with Selly Oak, and I've realised that the next station up the line is close enough that I can take a brisk walk along the towpath and make the next train. So I'm just repeating a section of a really good walk I did 2 years ago. And that station is University. I feel like tram stops usually have the very basic names of University or Arena, for example, whereas railway stations are usually named after an area. Well, this is basically the only example of a station specifically built to serve a university. Now, a lot of the stations along this line were rebuilt in 1978, hence why they look very similar. And University does as well. But this station actually opened in 1978, and only fairly recently has it been rebuilt. In fact, it says there's exit only here. This was the only entrance to the station when I was here 2 years ago. Wow, what an upgrade. So this mammoth building was under construction last time I was here. I'm unfamiliar with this. Right, so here's the funny thing. I wasn't going to do 5 ways today. I didn't think I would have enough time. I was going to save it because there's a tram stop down the road with the same name, and it's on an extension of the West Midland Metro, the Birmingham trams, which I've not done. So I thought, okay, if I don't have the time, I'll just come here and change for the tram and ride that one day rather than change at Birmingham. But I noticed a little bit of an anomaly. When I thought I had a half an hour gap, which I was going to do the canal walk in, it's only a 15-minute walk, I realised there's actually an additional train 20 minutes later. So I had to speed up the walk a little bit. But that train didn't stop at Barnt Green. I'm not sure why, it stops everywhere else but Barnt Green. That's where I was looking at the trains at the times from. Trains at the times? Times at the trains from. It's tired, I'm late. So I've managed to do 5 ways anyways. So not only have I done 12-mile walk, which definitely was one of my favourites I've done in recent times, but I've managed to do a surprising 9 new stations today. That's more than what I do when I go out and do actual station trips properly. Birmingham has good suburban services, I guess. So all that remains for me to do now is catch the next train from here in 10 minutes to Birmingham New Street, walk right through the heart of Birmingham city centre, and catch the last Chiltern Railway service from Birmingham Moor Street to London for the night. The same exact train I caught last year after my Starbridge Canal walk. And because it's the last train, it stops at so many more stations that it's going to take a little over 2.5 hours to get back to London at just before midnight. But I'd have it no other way. So I've made it back to Marylebone Station. It's almost midnight. I was in this spot a couple of weeks ago at about 3 AM taking a photo of an N2 bus as part of my quest to get a photo of every bus route in London. And you know what? I'm thinking I might take the opportunity and go round and get even more night bus photos tonight. I'm essentially going to get home 24 hours after I woke up, aren't I?